Hey Tinkerers! For this video, we're going to show you how to model the rook piece of a chess set. Now I am using this reference image, and this is the particular piece that I'm trying to reference. I'm going to get close to this. I won't be able to get exact, but this is what we are modeling after, and here is my end result. So what I've done is I've broken this out into all the different pieces so that you can see how each individual part of this was built. I'm going to cover how to make each section of this, and if you watched my pawn tutorial, the bottom part is very similar, slightly different because of height and differences, and I've also rounded out the actual numbers to make it easier to build. So starting here on the left side with the base, this is a tube. The tube is available here in the basic panes panel. And I have placed this tube with a diameter of 20, that's wide and lengthwise, and it has a height of 5. The parameter settings on this is a radius of 10, which is the diameter 20, and my wall thickness is 2.5. That, combined with my bevel of 2, creates this sort of round shape here. The bevel tool is actually making this sort of edge on here, which is what I wanted to match my model, and that's what I've laid on the ground. Now it also makes a bottom part here, you can see, that is also round from the bevel, and I didn't want that, so I went ahead and made another square here. That is a hole, and this is just your standard 20 by 20, and I have made it 1.46 tall, which matches the bottom of this particular shape, and that is how I've made the bottom piece. I'm going to group that together, and there it goes. And I am going to tell you that I'm going to call out how tall these things are, or how far off the ground they are. This bottom piece is going to rest here at the bottom. My next shape is this tube here with a cone. The cone, as you can see, will rest directly on top of the torus. I call it a tube, but this is a torus. And the torus is found here in the panes panel on the basic shapes, and the cone is here. And this torus is going to be 2.66 tall, and that is going to be 20 by 20, again the same as the tube. And then my cone shape here is also 20 by 20 with a height of 7.5. Now the goal here is to move this thing and have it directly set on top of that torus so that the edges blend together. You can see there's a little hook in the edge here. We don't want that, so we're going to bring it down a little bit by a little bit. And you can grab the up and down measurement and modify this to make it fit as exact as you can. And the hope and goal is to make that thing sit on there as close as possible as you can. If you need to make this slightly smaller, you can do that too if you really want to get into that kind of detail. And when we group these things together, there we have our beautiful little shape there. The next one here, this is a ring shape. And the ring shape is available further down in the panes panel. It is brown, and it has some interesting characteristics. I'm going to bring in a ring shape as a default to show you how this works. This ring has what we call a profile view. And the profile view is basically the shape of the ring from the inside to the outside. It's kind of hard to visualize that a little bit. If you turn it into a hole, you can kind of see and look at it from the side, you can kind of see what we're talking about. So this shape, the inside and the outside, is determined by this shape here. And this is a vector node. The square part is a vector node, and it has 4 vector nodes, and you want to think of that as connect the dots. Each vector node has a line going from it to the next vector. There's also these little circles, which are actually called Bezier handles, and they determine how or what direction and angle the line is going to go from one side to the next. So if I were to take one of these things, click on the side of this one here and move it out, you can see that my ring also moves, the shape of that. And we don't have to be crazy accurate for this because it's just this very small detail. But I'm going to kind of create a triangle shape so that has kind of a pointiness to it. And you could actually take these Bezier handles and move them out back and forth to change the way that it moves from each vector node. That's how that works. In mine, I have gone ahead and made sort of this shape, which again doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. We're talking about a very minute detail here, but I've had some students get a little bit concerned about how that works, so I want to make sure how that is working in mine. This is our column going up. So this is actually a little bit more complex than it looks. I'm going to ungroup it, and you can see that I have a cylinder sitting on top of this that's actually just working to cut off the top of this to make room for my other parts ahead of me. This is a 20 by 20. It doesn't really matter how tall, but it is happening to be 20 tall, which is the default shape. Below this, I'll go ahead and move this away for now, is also a cylinder, but with another torus wrapped around it. So if I were to take this cylinder out, you can see that it is just a regular cylinder. It is 20 by 20 with a height of 24. And when I drop that in, I'm going to drop that inside of a tube that is the hole, which is kind of a cool effect because I am using the inside of my tube, as you can see, to create that cylinder sort of shape around there. So this particular torus is 26 by 26. Should be pretty exact there. And the height of this thing is going to be 26 as well. Now it does have some parameter values. It has a radius of 9 and the tube is 4. When I combine those things together, that is how we get that sort of curved column. And then when I move this onto the top of it, which we will align to the very centers, I am cutting off the top of that to make room for my other designs. Let's group that together. And that's how I got that shape. This next shape is just the ring that goes around the bottom of my top of my Rook here. It's this ring, and it is a simple tube, 12 by 12, the height of 1. It is just about 24 off the ground. And then here is the head of the Rook. This again is just a cylinder. A cylinder with 14 by 14, 14 in diameter. The height is 8. And I put a 1 bevel on this just to give it a little bit of extra roundness on the top and a little bit of extra roundness on the bottom. So you'll see my finished design has a little bit of angle there to help give it a little bit of a softer appearance. That's all that is. But from there, I've had to cut into it. As you can see here, there's some cuts in there to make all these little separate sections and to carve out the middle. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these just so that you can see how I'm doing this. I have another cube. This cube is 20 deep and 1 wide, and it is 4 tall. And I'm going to look at this from the top so you can see how this works. This is going to get duplicated. So I'm going to hit my duplicate button there at the top, click on that, and then go ahead and rotate it, holding down the shift to rotate it just 45 degrees. I'm going to hit duplicate 2 more times, and that's how I created that shape. Now if I take these guys and go ahead and align them with the top of this head here, you will see that if I group them, I've cut out all those sections. But there still remains this sort of wedge pie shape in the center, and that's where this cylinder comes from. This cylinder is 11 by 11, doesn't really matter too much on the height, but it is also going to be centered in there, like so, not too deep. And when I group them, that is how I created the top of my Rook head. Now this Rook head is sitting at, let's see, 25 tall off the ground. This one is right around 24 off the ground. This one is sitting at, looks like 7.5 off the ground or so. You might have to make some adjustments since I can't just instantly show you what those are, this one's about 8 off of the ground. This one here is right around 4 off the ground, and this one is sitting right on the bottom. If I were to select all of these parts and align them in the center, and then group them, that is how we created the Rook. Go ahead and try that out for yourself, and good luck.